What if the clone army did not have inhibitor chips? That's our story for today, and I know originally, before the inhibitor chips were introduced, the clones obviously did not have inhibitor chips. But with us seeing Clone Wars, I think the inhibitor chips make more sense, and without them, things could be much different. So, that's our story for today. Hope you guys enjoy. Please leave a like on this video, it helps so very much. And let's get right into it. Our story begins in the earliest days of Clone Trooper production, right before the creation actually gets started. Everything was going according to plan, but one of the key scientists of Kamino, a woman called Fute Ni, was left out of this specific project. Scientist Ni was unlike the other Kaminoans in that she didn't care exclusively about profit, but she saw that the skills of the Kaminoans could be used for real good, rather than just creating this army that would surely lead to galactic warfare. She was not surprised that she was excluded from the military project, as it went against her morals, but there was just something so strange about it all. This specific cloning project seemed to be more secretive or urgent than any others, and Ni wanted to know why. So one night, when the others were asleep, Ni snuck into a lab to find all of the information she could on these clones, and as Ni searched, everything seemed fairly normal, except for one recent alteration to it all. And as she kept looking, the clones were going to have inhibitor chips to keep them in line and protect them against rogue Jedi, but the alteration changed these chips to have a set of contingency orders in the chip, and one highlighted one, Order 66, was designed to instantly execute all of the Jedi. Ni was completely taken aback by this. Wasn't it the Jedi that were putting this cloning order into action? At least that's what the other Kaminoans were told. She didn't know the truth, but it went against her ideals to let this stand. So over the next few nights, Ni would carefully, secretly, work on a formula that she inserted into the clone DNA that would degrade the inhibitor chips into nothing by the time that they were on the battlefield. It was an unnoticeable formula, and whoever planned to use these chips would likely not find out about their degradation until it was too late. And so now we fast forward into the Clone Wars, where the Jedi and clones have began to form truly great relationships with each other. Aayla Secura with Bly, Rex with Anakin, Kenobi, Cody, Plo, and Wolf. The clones and the Jedi all respected each other quite a lot, and every day for 3 years in this war, they fought side by side as the clones witnessed the bravery of the Jedi, while the Jedi witnessed the loyalty and skill of the clones. There was a mutual respect, and while both the Jedi and clones would have an occasional member go rogue, they all worked together so well. The Jedi knew that without the clones, the Republic would have lost the war, and many Jedi on Geonosis. But now the Republic had a true chance of winning this war. From Geonosis to Christophsis, Utapau, Felucia, Kashyyyk, thousands of clones fought and died for the Republic on thousands of planets. For the Jedi, every single day to the point where they didn't even realize that their true leader was Chancellor Palpatine. To them, the Chancellor was hidden away on Coruscant, while their true leaders, the Jedi, were on the front lines, day after day, sacrificing themselves for the people of the Republic, just like they were. Plus, without these inhibitor chips, clone troopers Tup and Fives of the 501st would not die or go crazy during the mission on Ringo Vinda, and instead both of them would survive all the way through the Battle of Coruscant. And at the height of their trust with each other, Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi, Clone Commander Cody, completed the mission to kill General Grievous, when across the galaxy, Anakin Skywalker has suddenly cut down Mace Windu and is now kneeling in front of Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith. And Sidious is giving Anakin a new mission. Take the 501st. Go into the Jedi Temple. Every single Jedi is now a traitor to the Republic, and they must be wiped out. Sidious said that the other Jedi across the galaxy will also be taken care of. Anakin, now Darth Vader, nodded and took off for the clone hangar. His mind was spinning, but he had only one true thing on his mind: saving Padme. And so Darth Sidious walked to his communicator. He would send out a broadcast to every single clone trooper at the exact same time, and he was beyond ready for this moment. Long has he waited for this. He flipped on the switch and was now speaking to every single clone as he said, "Execute Order 66." And across the galaxy, the clone troopers were now faced with the worst choice of their short lives. While they no longer had inhibitor chips, a fact that Sidious was unaware of, all of their memories still knew what Order 66 was. There was something deep in their brains that was now at the front, but they were not at all forced to act on it. Instead, the clones were given a choice of whether or not they would execute Order 66 and kill their Jedi commanders. and the choice was not as simple as the Jedi may have hoped. This was a direct order from the Supreme Chancellor himself, and while the clones may have respected the Jedi more, disobeying this order would result in a court-martial and possible execution. So now they all faced a choice. On Felucia, Commander Bly was walking with a squad behind Aayla Secura when the order came in. All of the clones stopped in their tracks and looked to each other. No words were spoken, but around half of the clones lifted their blasters with sadness at Aayla. But Bly and the other half ran in front of her, ordering the other clones to stand down. A tank turned its gun to face Aayla, but she ignited her saber, cutting off the gun, demanding to know what was going on. And Bly told her that she was set for execution, but he will not let that happen. On Megiddo, the order came in and the clones came to a halt. Bakara looked to his men, then to Mundi, and Bakara nodded. The clones raised their blasters and they fired, gunning down Mundi, and most of them fell to their knees, knowing they followed orders, but for what? Mundi was not the kindest Jedi, but he didn't deserve this. No Jedi did. But Bakara soon ordered them back into battle, leaving Mundi's body on the ground. They had a duty to do, and they fought to take Megiddo. On Cato Nemoidia, Plo Koon flew his Jedi starfighter as the orders came in. The clone pilot behind Plo hesitated, his finger on the trigger, and this hesitation caused his shot to only clip Plo's ship. The ship was hit, but Plo was able to eject, landing on the ground as Wolf and the Wolf Pack ran up to him, blasters pointed at him at the ready. Plo ignited his saber. He and Wolf stared at each other for a long moment, before both of them put down their weapons. Wolf removed his helmet, explaining what was going on, and that he just could not do it. On Kashyyyk, Yoda watched Gree take an order, and then he saw his shaky hand grab his blaster. So Yoda walked over, pulling the blaster away with the Force, asking Gree to sit with the other clones. They did so, then explained to Yoda what was going on. Yoda knew that Mace was going to arrest Palpatine, and it was clear now that he'd failed. On Utapau, Commander Cody received the order, looked up to Obi-Wan climbing the mountain. It would be the easiest kill, but he couldn't do it. He ordered his men to stand down, then called Kenobi back to him and explained what was going on. Around the galaxy, clones made the choice of either following Palpatine's orders to kill the Jedi, or saving the Jedi they fought with every day. Jaro Tapal, Depa Billaba, Luminara Unduli, Quinlan Vos, and most other Jedi were saved by the clones, while around 250 of the Jedi across the galaxy were shot down by the clones they fought with, including council members Oppo Rancis, Stas Ali, and Coleman Kaj. But for the huge majority of Jedi across the galaxy, the clones stood down. Perhaps the greatest test of the clones came on Coruscant, as Anakin Skywalker reached the area, where around 2,500 clones of the 501st Legion were waiting for him to storm the Jedi Temple. Except Oppo and Fives, and the rest of this half of the Legion could not believe these were actually the orders. There were children inside of the temple, countless innocents. Most of them were innocent. Most of the Jedi that participated in the war were off-world. So, when Anakin arrived, Fives and Oppo asked Anakin what their orders were, because clearly they were not on the same page. But Anakin looked up with his hood, with eyes that were devoid of their usual light and excitement, instead replaced with despair and desperation. As he told these clones, they were storming the temple. The Jedi tried to kill the Chancellor. Now their treason must be dealt with. Oppo and Fives looked to each other, then raised their blasters up at Anakin, saying they would not be doing that. Anakin did not have time for this. The whole point of him going into the temple was so that he could dive fully into the dark side, to the point of no return, to access the powers to save Padme. He felt his anger rising, and he gripped his lightsaber, telling the clones that then they were committing treason as well. If they don't follow him into the temple, they will be executed just like the Jedi for disobeying the Chancellor. But now more clones lined up behind Fives and Oppo, telling Anakin this is a risk they would take. And Anakin went to ignite his lightsaber, but before he could, one of the Republic tanks in the area fired a shot at Anakin's feet. He used the Force to try to block that shot, but it was too late, and he was sent flying into the wall. Fives and Oppo fired stun blasts at Anakin, and he was knocked out cold, but heavily injured, despite slowing the blast a bit. He was able to protect himself just a little, but the tank explosions burned him badly, and he would need medical attention very immediately. Oppo ordered a squad of 10 clones, bring Anakin into the temple, while the rest of them march on the real traitor to the Jedi and to the Republic, Palpatine. And so, as the Jedi and clones throughout the galaxy were trying to figure out what was going on, why this order was called, and what to do next, Darth Sidious was waiting in his office when he was alerted that the 501st were moving towards him instead of the Jedi Temple. Now he knew something was terribly wrong. Somehow, Order 66 has failed, so he quickly shifted plans, sending a message to the Coruscant guard to come to him, stop this treason. And he grabbed his lightsaber. He just had to get to the lowest level of the executive building, where the hidden tunnel to his secret lair in the industrial sector was located. Near the entrance of the executive building, Fives and Appo were leading the men of the 501st when a squad of Coruscant guard troops, led by Commander Fox, got in the way, ordering them to stop immediately or face the worst consequences for their actions. Fives stepped forward, asking Fox if this is truly the side he wants to take. He said that the Chancellor has ordered the execution of every Jedi, not just those fighting the war. Fox stood his ground, saying there must be a reason for it. The Chancellor is doing what is best for the Republic, and he cannot let them enter. Appo said that it is too late, looking up to show Fox a group of 5 Republic gunships, followed by 20 speeders, landing outside various windows of the building. And as Fox was distracted with his squad, the 501st began firing stun blasts at them, then moving through the doors as the upper windows were infiltrated. Inside of his office, Palpatine finished the final steps for his next plan, then began to leave as he heard the clones running into his office. So he would have to get through them. So be it. A squad of around 20 that entered through the windows ran into Palpatine's office, saw the 3 Jedi dead on the floor, then told Palpatine he was under arrest for treason versus the Jedi and the Republic. This was becoming a civil war inside of the Clone Wars. Palpatine stood slowly, igniting his 2 blades, and he threw them at the clones. While the blades spun through the air, Palpatine blasted lightning at the doorway, clearing a way, and he ran through the fallen bodies, down into the massive stairway. In this building, there were thousands of offices, but Palpatine pushed the emergency attack button to lock all of the doors from the inside, making sure this fight would be between just him and the clones. As Sidious now navigates the stairs in the halls of the executive building, he would encounter new groups of clones at every turn. With reflexes quicker than the clones could see, and the power of the dark side in him, he destroyed these clones without much issue. Blaster bolts were coming at him from every angle, but Sidious deflected them back at the clones, carving through them to get to his escape. As the Dark Lord descended through the levels of the building, Palpatine's path was marked by the bodies of the fallen clones, but they just kept coming at him. With each floor that he escaped through, more clones would emerge, and soon Appo and Fives were firing at him. Appo hit Palpatine in the back with a blast, but the Sith Lord grabbed the clone commander, crushing his helmet with the close of his fist, then turned to Fives, deflecting his shots, slamming Fives with lightning. He slammed into the wall and watched Palpatine escape. Sidious left into the underground tunnels, taking his hidden speeder to the base in the industrial sector. He had a plan. Now he just needs to get to space and execute it. So once inside of his base, Palpatine took his hidden ship into space, waiting among the debris left over from the Battle of Coruscant. There was a Republic ship emerging from hyperspace any second now, and it was carrying an important person for Palpatine's contingency plan. Aboard a Republic Venator, Ahsoka was with Captain Rex and many other clones on the bridge, anxiously waiting their return to Coruscant. When Order 66 came through, there was no hesitation from Rex or the others. They simply told Ahsoka what was going on, and now they waited to deliver Maul to the temple, find out why the Jedi were deemed to be executed. But as they came out of hyperspace above Coruscant and began their descent to the planet, an alarm was sounded from the halls, where Maul was being kept prisoner. Ahsoka and Rex were informed that someone boarded the ship from an emergency hatch, and now Maul's cell has been opened. They assumed it was someone working for Maul's Shadow Collective, so Ahsoka and Rex took a squad down to the cell. Sidious rescued Maul, and although they hated each other, they would work together to escape. As they approached the escape hatch to board Palpatine's ship, Ahsoka got in their way from one side, while Rex and the clones got in their way from the other side. Sidious handed Maul a saber, and Sidious laughed, saying that he will take great joy in this. Then he ignited his saber and spun at Ahsoka, while Maul moved to the clones. Ahsoka ignited her 2 sabers, but she was completely outmatched. She would have never expected this to be Sidious, and Sidious was angry, and in a hurry. He swung at Ahsoka, pushing her back through the ship as she fought back with impressive skills. But it would not be enough, and as they fought, Sidious smiled with glee as he cut through her hands, then spun, stabbing Ahsoka through the gut. He turned to see Maul cut through the final clones, then joined him and his ship to escape, leaving death in their path. And the lone survivor, Captain Rex. Though Maul did cut through his shoulder, he managed to crawl over to Ahsoka, holding her as she died with a smile, looking up at Rex, perhaps her best friend in the galaxy. Hours later, the surviving members of the Jedi Council, which were now only Yoda, Obi-Wan, Plo Koon, Shaak Ti, Depa Billaba, and Luminara Unduli, were speaking with the newly awoken Anakin Skywalker. Not long ago, Anakin woke up in the Jedi Temple medical bay, with Rex inside of a newly attached robotic arm, and Rex delivered the news about Ahsoka. Anakin was completely shattered inside, and he knew this was all his fault. He was finally coming to his senses. While Anakin was knocked out, the Jedi were able to track the Separatist leaders to Mustafar, get them to surrender, and shut down the droid army. So now, however, Palpatine attacks will not be with the droids. And Anakin was owning his mistakes now, seeing that Palpatine could not be trusted. He was pure evil. The Jedi were right to go at him. Anakin let himself be manipulated enough to stop Windu from executing him. The Council listened now, as Anakin confessed that he was luckily stopped by the clones, and they decided his punishment could wait. The Sith escaped. It was clear that Anakin was not on Sidious's side. They would need him, so for now the Jedi decided that they needed to dispatch fleets to the most important Republic planets. Sidious had a plan, and he would be revealing himself soon. And indeed, Sidious did have a plan. Maul took him to the hidden Shadow Collective criminal empire in hiding on Obadiah, as Sidious was now promising Maul the entire Outer Rim to himself. Once he takes over the galaxy, the two of them would never have to speak again, and Maul could rule the entire Outer Rim. Maul was fine with this plan, and so he was introducing Sidious to the collective, when suddenly a red saber carved through his spine, and Maul fell dead with a gasp. Sidious stepped forward, saying that he is their new leader. Maul was weak, and anyone who defies him will suffer the same fate. Sidious said that in his eventual empire, the crime world will thrive. Maul would not be their rightful leader, and he is dead now. They will waste no time in their first fight. They can either join him or suffer when he becomes emperor. Around the galaxy, Jedi and clones were around important planets, waiting anxiously for Sidious to emerge. There was no telling where or how Sidious would strike back, but he would have to do it soon. One of the more protected planets was Kamino, and the Kamino fleet was led by Obi-Wan and Plo Koon. Anakin was here as well per request of Obi-Wan. He trusted Anakin to do the right thing after seeing his mistakes, and Yoda allowed this begrudgingly as the Jedi were desperate to destroy the Sith. And as the fleet gathered above Kamino, they soon got an alert that a massive fleet was approaching. Sidious had chosen his first target, Kamino, and the fleet of Jedi and clones prepared for a final fight as Sidious's new fleet of criminals emerged, hungry to fight to destroy the Republic, so Sidious could rise as Emperor, and they could thrive in the shadows. And the fight would begin, Republic versus the Shadow Collective, as blaster fire, turbo laser bolts illuminated the darkness of space, as Republic starfighters would engage in dogfights with the unpredictable fighters of the Shadow Collective, their lasers streaking across the void as they moved through the space battleground. Republic cruisers would exchange devastating blows with the Shadow Collective vessels, their shields absorbing punishing explosions as they returned fire back and forth. Both fleets would see ships begin to go down, and the space around Kamino became a huge battleground, ships crashing down into the water below. Clone troopers would man the gun turrets of Republic capital ships, their steadfast fighting strength fueling their determination as they wanted to destroy Palpatine for what he did to many clones. The fate of the cloning facilities below would hang in the balance as the battle was raging on, and in the head Republic Venator, Kenobi, Plo, and Skywalker were alerted that a single ship had snuck into the Kamino atmosphere. The three of them knew it had to be Palpatine. He was going to go destroy the facilities himself, so the Jedi flew down to the surface to meet him. And as Sidious was about to enter the main room carrying clone DNA, a Republic ship fired down at him, destroying the bridge, and Kenobi, Skywalker, and Plo jumped down to meet him. Sidious snarled at Anakin. He was a failure. He ignited his red blade to take him on. The Jedi were ready, and they moved towards Sidious as the clash of lightsabers echoed through the stormy night as the three Jedi would engage him in a final duel. Anakin's aggressive style was overwhelming, and it was complemented by Obi-Wan's defensive maneuvers, while Plo's mastery of his own fighting style added a dangerous element that had Sidious on the back. As the fight raged on, Anakin's frustration was growing with each passing moment, his emotions threatening to consume him. As he sought to take down Sidious, he remembered Ahsoka, the thousands of clones that he blamed himself for now. and Obi-Wan and Plo's calm demeanors did help to provide a stabilizing influence though, and as the duel reached its climax, a ship from Sidious's Shadow Collective crashed into the water nearby, creating a huge wave that crashed into the bridge, now carrying all 4 fighters down into the water below. As the wave was carrying them down, Plo Koon locked eyes with Anakin, and he used the Force to throw Anakin at Sidious, who was distracted by the wave, trying to recover himself. And Anakin swung through the air, cutting Sidious in half as they all violently crashed into the water. Sidious was dead, but now the Jedi were struggling to stay afloat in the raging waters as more ships were crashing down, creating more waves. The Republic was winning the space battle, but it was causing countless ships to crash into the water. And as the Jedi were fighting through the water, Obi-Wan told Plo and Anakin to dive deep into it and trust him. So the Jedi dove under, and Obi-Wan reached out his hand, calling upon the Force. Moments later, 3 Awas surged through the water, scooping up the 3 Jedi, and they were flown to safety to see that they won this battle, and they won the war against the Sith. When it was all over, Palpatine would be replaced as Chancellor by Senator Ryo Chuchi, who ran on wanting to help the clones with the war now over. Anakin would leave the Order to be with Padme and the children, and the Council would decide that it was punishment enough to leave the Order with the guilt of what happened because of his actions. The Jedi would start to recover, Council members were replaced, and it was a newer, more refreshing era as Yoda even stepped down as Grand Master, allowing Plo Koon to take his place. The galaxy would recover as well, and Anakin would someday allow Luke and Leia to be trained at the temple, with his supervision, all in due time. And folks, that is our story for today. What if the clones did not have inhibitor chips? I've done stories like this in the past. What if Order 66 was like deleted? What if the clones just were able to resist? So I wanted to find a way to take a bit of a different path, and that path was kind of having Sidious escape, having him kind of fight through the 501st. I thought that was fun in the executive building. I really like just going planet to planet and showing how I think the clones would react. Rest in peace to Ki-Adi-Mundi. His clones were psychos, he was a psycho. Just happens. Aayla Secura, I think, half of them would decide to follow the Order, but the other half would get them to stand down. As for the rest of the Jedi that we see die in Revenge of the Sith, like Plo and Obi-Wan, I don't think they're dying. Stas Ali, rest in peace. But the rest, especially Plo, I wanted to have a quick interaction between him and Wolf. Yeah, I think that was fun. Let me know what you guys thought. Order 66 videos are just such a fun concept. I mean, it's the biggest event in the entire galaxy, pretty much. So, throughout all of the Skywalker saga, essentially. So, let me know what you thought. Hope you guys enjoyed. Appreciate you. New video probably tomorrow, maybe Thursday. We'll see. Anyways, thanks for watching. Leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video.